Hi everyone, welcome to the third webinar of a series of webinars conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming management case study sessions happening in August 2022. And before we commence today's session, let me talk about what we discussed in the first two webinars. In the first webinar, I highlighted the technical nitty-gritties pertaining to the MCS exam. And on top of that, we provided an 8-week study plan. And I hope you guys would have stuck to this 8-week study plan or adhered to this study plan. And if you did, you would have figured out that closer to the exam, your life becomes easier because your workload keeps decreasing. All right, so that's what we highlighted in webinar number 1. In webinar number 2, answering technique, we highlighted about what you need to do when developing answers at the real exam. And we said before, trying out this answering technique, it's better to practice it on your own by attempting 5 exam standard mock exams. So in the second webinar, we highlighted about answer plans, what you need to do when developing answer plans. And on top of that, if you stick to the answer planning technique, which we highlighted in the second webinar, you would find it extremely easy to manage your time, because most students who end up failing the MCS examination, they run out of time at the real exam, which affects their confidence in a negative manner. So rather than, running out of time, I would invite you guys to stick to the answering technique, which will help you improve the quality of your answers, and on top of that, help you manage your time appropriately. So if you are yet to check out the first two webinars, the recorded versions of the first two webinars, I invite you guys to do so now, because you can access these recorded versions via our website, which is www.studyatTCS.com. Simply go to the MCS page and create your own account. And under the free content, you would have access to the recorded versions of the first two webinars. And the recorded version of this webinar will also be uploaded tonight under the free content to our website. So having said that, let's look at session outcomes for tonight. First things first, I'm going to talk about examiner's comments. It's better to understand the exact requirements of the examiner before going into the examination. So I'm talking about what the examiner has highlighted and what you need to get right. And on top of that, as the second part of tonight's session, I will be talking about what you need to do in order to develop confidence. Just developing confidence before the exam won't help you. You need to maintain the same level of confidence at the real exam. So I'll be highlighting what you need to do to develop confidence as well as to maintain your confidence, because as per the CIMA examiner, confident students end up passing the MCS examination. So it's better to build confidence. And on top of that, if by any chance you failed in the last session, I will be talking about what you need to do to bounce back from your failure, because as you already know, the same case study which was used for May is used for August sessions. So it is prudent, if you failed in May, it is prudent for you to reattempt your exam in this sitting, because the same case study is utilized. So I'll be talking about these things later on. Okay, so first things first, let's look at examiner's comments. So the examiner highlights what you need to do when developing answers. Good answers require relevance to the requirement. So good answers need to relate to the task at hand. So it's of utmost importance that you understand the exact requirement which is highlighted in each and every subtask. So you need to understand the question appropriately, and we highlighted what you need to do to understand the question in webinar number 2. So under answering technique, our first step towards developing a good answer was, understanding the requirement appropriately. So we have covered this area in webinar number 2. If you are yet to watch it, I invite you guys to go and watch it under the free content. And on top of that, the examiner highlights that all students who are following MCS needs to possess technical knowledge about E2, P2, and F2 related syllabus content. So if you are not too aware about E2, P2, and F2 related syllabus content, your chances of passing the MCS exam is extremely low, because through a case study, although we are checking your knowledge about a certain industry and a company, a majority of a weightage is provided towards technical syllabus areas. So you need to know E2, P2, and F2. And this is applicable especially to students who are coming through the exemption route, such as the FLP route or the finance leadership program. And on top of that, students who are coming through the master's gateway, most students lack knowledge pertinent to, especially pertaining to F2 and P2. So if you lack knowledge in these areas, it's ideal that you brush up your knowledge, because the examiner highlights that you need to possess technical knowledge. And on top of that, just possessing technical knowledge won't help you. You should know how to apply the knowledge, taken from E2, P2, and F2 related syllabus areas when developing your answers. That does not mean that you need to remember the names of the concepts and whatnot. However, all these syllabus content you need to have a good knowledge, and just having the knowledge won't help you. You need to know how to apply that knowledge in a exam scenario. Okay. And you are supposed to provide well-structured answers, and when providing well-structured answers, according to the CIMA examiner, you are supposed to use paragraphs. So I've seen students providing answers in bullet points, or providing single-lined answers or single-sentenced answers. You are not supposed to do that, because the examiner wants you to, when providing answers, the examiner wants you to develop paragraphs or provide answers in paragraphs. And a paragraph ideally carries 2 to 3 lines of answers. And on top of that, per answer point, you need to have a paragraph. So for instance, if you have 9 answer points, then you need to have 9 paragraphs in your answer. And when you develop answers in paragraph form, then you are making the life of the invigilator easier, because the invigilator can easily spot how many answer points are there, and based on that, for each and every paragraph, the invigilator can simply jot down marks. Okay, so when providing answers, you have to provide answers in paragraphs. So I've highlighted what you need to do in webinar number 2, answering technique. So if you missed out on it, please go watch the recorded version of it. And if you are bringing in any arguments, you have to at all times provide an appropriate justification. You can't just provide generalized answers or highly theoretical answers. Instead, whenever you are bringing in an argument or a recommendation, you are supposed to back it up with appropriate justifications. So please be mindful about these things when developing answers. Then the examiner tells you what to do before the exam. So before the exam, the examiner expects you to study all areas of the syllabus. Again, the examiner highlights that you need to possess an appropriate level of technical knowledge. Without technical knowledge, you cannot pass the MCS exam. So as I highlighted earlier, most students coming through the exemption routes struggle because they do not have a good understanding about all study areas or all types of syllabus content. So if you fall under this category, it's high time that you brush up your knowledge pertaining to E2, P2, and F2 related syllabus content. And on top of that, before the exam, the examiner highlights that you need to, when developing answers, or when bringing in knowledge from syllabus content, you have to apply it to a given scenario. So when it comes to application, You need to have some type of practice when with regards to applying your knowledge. So that's where the 5 mock exams come into play. So if you go through the suggested answers of the 5 mock exams which we have prepared, then you would know what type of application the examiner is talking about. Then you would know how to apply your knowledge taken from E2, P2 and F2 related areas. Okay, so you can simply go through our so mock exams and the suggested answers to figure out how to apply this knowledge. And on top of that, the examiner expects you to, before the exam, practice tasks as much as possible. So you are supposed to practice mock exams as much as possible, not because I am telling you to do it, but because the examiner expects you to do it. Okay, so you are supposed to practice mock exams before the exam, and on top of that, the examiner wants you to type or write full answers. What are full answers? A full answer, what a full answer means is, when practicing mock exams, I've seen students practicing a certain subtask at a time or a certain task at a time. Instead of practicing subtask by subtask in isolation, instead of practicing task by task in isolation, you are supposed to practice a full mock exam, a full 3-hour mock exam, because you need to get accustomed to real exam conditions. So at the exam, you are getting a paper which consists of 4 tasks and a time allocation which consists of a time allocation of 3 hours. So when you are practicing mock exams, you are supposed to attempt 4 tasks at a stretch, allocating 3 hours of your time. So per task, you are supposed to allocate 45 minutes of your time. All right. So when practicing mock exams, just practicing subtask by subtask or task by task, allocating just 45 minutes, getting practicing one task, taking a break, then practicing another task, spending 45 minutes, that's not recommended. Instead, you are supposed to sit in one place and attempt a fully fledged mock, thereby spending 3 hours of your time and trying to replicate a real life exam scenario. You are supposed to do it not just because of I'm telling you to do it, but because the examiner specifically mentions that you are supposed to type or write full answers. Okay, so that's what you need to do before the examination. And during the exam, the examiner expects you to plan your answers appropriately. So we have covered this area in webinar number 2. We had suggested a methodology called answer planning technique. And according to that technique, we have highlighted what you need to do to plan your answers appropriately. So we had mentioned that you are supposed to allocate 20 minutes of your time to read and plan the answer. Out of the 45 minutes allocated per task, 20 minutes should be allocated towards reading and planning the answer or developing an answer plan, or in other words, an answer structure. And once you had planned your answer, the remaining 25 minutes can be used towards typing the answer. So I've seen so many students right after reading the question, straight away they start typing the answer. And halfway through the answer, they figure out that they are not sticking to the requirement or they are headed in the wrong direction. So these students end up deleting the answer and, going back to square one, starting from scratch again. So then in the back of your mind, what happens is you are constantly reminded that you wasted some time. So because of that, there is a tendency for students to panic in such a situation. So for instance, let's assume you, started typing the answer and you ended up deleting the answer in task number 2. Then you end up panicking, and this type of uncertainty or negativity is pushed on to tasks 3 and 4 as well. And most students, because of this situation, because of not having the capability to plan the answers appropriately, they end up failing the exam. So rather than failing the exam, it's prudent for you to listen to the examiner. The examiner wants you to plan your answers during the exam. So just stick to our answer planning technique. Take 20 minutes of your time to read and come up with an answer plan, and the remaining 25 minutes can be allocated towards typing fully fledged answers, expanding the answer plans. Then you can come up with high quality answers, and on top of that you can manage your time appropriately. If you do these two things, then you won't experience any type of negativity at the real exam. Instead, you can maintain your level of confidence, which will enable you to pass the MCS exam comfortably. So you are supposed to plan your answers. If you are yet to check out our second webinar, then please go to our website and check out the recorded version where we have highlighted answer planning technique. And according to the examiner, the marker is under strict instructions to mark answers on their merits. So the examiner has stipulated, although there is a best practice word limit, 650 to 700 words per task, the examiner is not giving you marks just because you have paragraphs and paragraphs or paragraphs and paragraphs of answers. Instead, the examiner is allocating marks based on the quality of your answer. So the examiner picks quality over quantity. So that's exactly why you need to stick to our answer planning technique. That's exactly why you need to develop answer plans, because if you do, then you will come up with high quality answers, and this will increase your chances of passing the MCS exam. Okay, so let's try to figure out the marking criteria. Two markers allocate marks before the final mark is finalized. Okay, this is done in order to achieve a higher level of uniformity when it comes to marking, and to achieve a high level of quality when it comes to marking your scripts. And mark allocation for each subtask appears as a percentage under each requirement. So by now you should know about this. We highlighted this in webinar number 2 when we were showing you mini mock, and in that you would have seen under each subtask there is a weightage provided, a 50% weightage, a 20% weightage, a 33% weightage, and whatnot. Okay, so this weightage gives you an indication about the amount of marks allocated for each and every subtask, and this weightage can be used as a means of managing your time as well. So we have highlighted these points in webinar number 2. So please watch the recorded version of webinar 2 answering technique. And as I highlighted earlier, when allocating marks are provided based on merit. So the examiner picks quality over quantity. So don't be too concerned about the word limit. Although we have said the ideal amount of words should be 650 to 700 per task, we have stipulated that so that when practicing your mocks, how much the lengths of your answers. Okay, however, the examiner always looks at quality over quantity. So stick to our answer planning technique so that you achieve just this. You achieve developing, or you end up developing high quality answers. Then we are moving on to the second part of today's webinar, which is about developing confidence. Okay, so what are you supposed to do to develop confidence before the exam? Okay, so before the exam, it's prudent for you to stick to the study plan which we provided. We provided an 8-week study plan. If you had stuck to it, then that's better, that's great. And if you are yet to develop your own study plan or to follow a study plan, we would highlight you guys to follow the study plan which we are providing tonight. So as I told you earlier, we have developed a 5-week study plan especially focused on students who had failed their MCS examination in May. So even if you are doing your MCS exam for the first time in August, still you can stick to this 5-week study plan which were provided, and according to the study plan you can start your work from Monday, which is to day after tomorrow, right? So I'll talk about this revised study plan later. So refer to the video of webinar number 1 study plan, where we have highlighted the technical nitty-gritties as well as what you need to do or the areas you need to cover in your study plan, and refer to the study plan which we have provided. And before the exam, it's prudent for you to stick to a routine, because there's only 5 weeks up until the exam. So during these 5 weeks, at least, you need to wake up and sleep on time. Okay. And if you are to wake up and sleep on time, you need to focus on your daily meal intake. Okay. So you need to stick to a routine when it comes to having your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you do that, if you practice this in the coming 5 weeks, then you will find it extremely easy to wake up at a stipulated time, and you will fall asleep at a stipulated time. So stick to a routine, because in the coming 5 weeks, it's extremely important that you manage your corporate work, or if you are a businessman, you need to manage allocate enough time to run your business, and on top of that you need to allocate enough time towards studies as well. Okay, so sticking to a routine helps, and just stick to a routine. That's what you are supposed to do on your own, and go through the study plan which we are providing. Then you would find it easier to develop confidence before the exam. And when practicing mock exams, it's better if you can practice mocks under a simulated exam condition. So what is a simulated exam condition? It's better if you can, when practicing mock exams, isolate yourself, find a place without any disturbances. When practicing mock exams, it's better if you can allocate 3 hours of your time, isolate yourself, and attempt full mocks. Okay, full 3-hour mocks, which consists of 4 tasks. So practice under simulated exam conditions, and you can use our own mock exam platform, which is a replication of the Pearson VUE system. So we had developed this mock exam platform in order to make sure that students, before they go into the exam, students are conversant with the exam platform, which helps immensely at the real exam. So all 5 mocks which we are providing, you can attempt them under our mock exam platform, which will help you immensely at the real exam. And you are supposed to attempt mocks in isolation, as I highlighted earlier, devoid of any hindrances or any disturbances, because it's better to replicate a real life exam condition when practicing mock exams as well. And when practicing mock exams, stick to the exam technique routine which we have highlighted under webinar number 2. So 20 minutes should be allocated towards reading and planning your answer or developing answer plans, and the remaining 25 minutes can be allocated towards typing your answers, or in other terms, expanding the answer plan. So if you attempt 5 mock exams under real exam conditions before the exam, since there are 4 tasks per mock exam, 4 tasks into 5 mock exams, there are 20 tasks in total. So you will be developing 20 answer plans. Okay, so that's enough practice about answer planning. You will be typing 20 tasks and answers for 20 tasks as well. So there's enough practice when it comes to answer planning as well as typing your answers, and you would find it extremely easy to develop answers and type your answers within a stipulated time period at your real exam. So as per the examiner, you are supposed to practice full mocks before the exam. So we are also highlighting that it's better if you can practice 5 mock exams under exam conditions. Then you'd find it extremely easy to provide high quality answers and manage your time appropriately at your real exam. So that's what you are supposed to do to develop confidence before the exam. So let's try to figure out what you need to do to maintain the same level of confidence on the exam day. Okay, so before the exam, on the day of the exam, you are supposed to rest your mind and body. Okay, because you need to walk into the exam hall, or if you're attempting it at home, you need to attempt your real exam with an open mind. Okay, because the CIMA examiner tries to replicate a real life corporate environment. You are playing the role of a finance manager. So as a finance manager, until you walk into office and open your computer or your laptop, you won't know the type of problems the company has faced and the type of solutions you are supposed to provide, or the type of recommendations you are supposed to provide. So the same methodology or the philosophy applies to your real exam as well. Since the examiner tries to replicate a real life corporate environment, it's better to have an open mind rather than trying to predict the type of questions which will appear in your real exam. So on the day of the exam, in order to have an open mindset or a positive mindset, you have to rest your mind and body. Don't think about any questions. Don't think about any mock exams. Don't refer to any study material, mocks or answer plans right before the exam. Okay, so I've highlighted that point in here. Don't go through any of the additional study material which you are providing. Don't go through mocks. Don't go through any of the answer plans. Just forget about everything. Go to the exam with an open mind, because then you will end up providing better answers. Okay, think that you are the finance manager on the day of the exam. Think that you are the finance manager at the company. I've made a blunder here. I've mentioned MNH, but it should be piping. So think that you are the finance manager at piping. Then you'd provide better answers, because then you are trying to internalize that you are the finance manager. Then you are in a position to provide better answers. Let go of any negativity. It's totally normal for you to feel pressured on the day of the exam. As a student, I can remember on the day of the exam, I used to feel feverish. I knew that it had everything to do with the exam, not because I was actually sick, but psychologically, that was a negative reaction I was getting as a student. But later on, after the management level, this went off, because I was well prepared before the exam. And a day before the exam, I stopped all my work and I rested my mind and body, and because of that, I was able to let go of any negativity. So it's okay to feel some type of stress before the exam. That's totally normal. But just remind yourself that you have done your work, you have done your homework. So that's the best way to let go of any negativity. And be open-minded, because the examiner wants you to be open-minded. The examiner wants you to play the role of a finance manager, and if you are supposed to do your job properly, you need to be open-minded at all times. And let's try to figure out what you need to do during the exam. Before I do that, Siku has asked a question. Siku, I will be addressing your question in a while. Okay, not right now, but in a while. So during the exam, what are you supposed to do to maintain your confidence? Stick to the exam technique routine. So you have practiced the exam technique routine. So, replicate the same methodology at the real exam. So allocate 20 minutes for reading and answer planning, and 25 minutes towards typing your answers. And it's pretty normal for you to feel stressed during the exam. So if you do, drink some water, because then you are injecting some oxygen into your brain, so that's better. Then you can think better. Then you would calm yourself down when you drink some water. And you can also close your eyes and breathe slowly for 2 minutes. You might think that in a time pressured exam such as MCS, just focusing on breathing for 2 minutes is a waste of time. Believe me, that is not the case. Because when you can, if you're stressed out, if your mind is all over the place, if you can't think straight, then closing your eyes and focusing on your breathing for 2 minutes is gonna reset your brain. Then thoughts will flow into your brain, and you'd end up providing better answers. So you can do this. You can focus on your breathing for about 2 minutes to resettle yourself, and remind yourself that you have done your homework. So during the exam, whilst typing an answer or whilst developing an answer plan, you might feel that you had provided a wrong answer. So, let go of any negativity. The best way to do it is to remind yourself that you had done your homework. You had referred to all the additional material. You had attempted 5 mock exams. You had developed answer plans for each and every mock. You had referred to these answer plans, and if you had opted for tutor feedback, you have gotten your feedback as well. And you had again, sometimes if the feedback was not too good, you would have reattempted the mock exam. So you have done all your work. So there's absolutely nothing to worry, because there will be questions where you'd feel pressured. That's pretty normal, because this is an extremely time pressured exam. And MCS is not too easy. CIMA exams are to be honest, not too easy. Okay, so in such a context, you would see a certain subtask which you are clueless about. Still, that's no problem, because in order to pass, you are supposed to take just 80 marks out of 150, or 54%. Okay, so you can lose out the rest of the marks. So just getting a certain answer for a certain subtask or 1 or 2 subtasks does not mean that you would end up failing the exam. So if you're faced with such a scenario, just remind yourself that you have done your homework, and remind yourself that you need just 80 marks to pass your exam. And during the exam, give your best shot. Okay, and always try to be open-minded. Don't try to memorize answers from mock exams, and don't try to figure out when attempting mock exams, when faced with this type of a question, what type of an answer was there. Just forget about everything else and be open-minded, and just think that you are playing the role of a finance manager at piping. So that's what you're supposed to do to maintain your confidence on the day of the exam. And on top of that, let me also highlight about deflections which you need to avoid. So certain students, what I've seen is they try to overemphasize on the exam blueprint. Absolutely no point of doing it, because you can go through the exam blueprint, but overemphasizing on the exam blueprint does not ensure that you end up passing the exam. It's going to confuse you. So just stick to the guidance which we have provided via these 3 webinars, and that's all you need to know about the technical nitty-gritties about the MCS exam. And some students, they overly rely on predictions. I've seen some tutors doing this as well. They say this area is tested at the exam and this area is not tested. You can't say that, because the CIMA examiner has specifically mentioned that any syllabus content can be tested. So don't rely on predictions too much. And some students engage themselves with excessive industry analysis. This needs to be avoided as well. You are not supposed to be an industry expert. So simply go through the annotated pre-scene which we have provided. Simply go through the industry analysis slides which we have provided. So in our industry analysis slides, we have provided only the most significant information in a concise and precise manner. Okay, so simply go through these slides, then you'd know everything. You'd know everything about the industry which is tested. And on top of that, out of the 4 pre-scene analysis videos, one of the videos are allocated towards industry analysis. So simply go through that video, then you'd know everything. You'd have all the knowledge about the industry. So don't spend too much time on industry analysis. I've seen certain tutors doing pestle analysis and SWOT analysis and whatnot. This is not gonna help you at the real exam. That's too much information. So it's better to let go of too much information and only focus on the most relevant. And the next deflection could be misguided use of past papers. So I've seen numerous students referring to past exam material or past variants. Okay, it's good, you can learn something by referring to past variants. However, a case study, the type of questions which appeared in a previous case study might not be too relevant to this time's case study. So for instance, if the past variants are focused on the service sector, and this time's case study, if it's based on the manufacturing sector, then the questions will be totally different. And the questions will be different based on the industry dynamics as well. So it's it's okay if you refer to past variants, but it's better if you can attempt relevant mock exams or mock exams which are relevant to the present case study. And information overload is another problem which you would face. We at TCS, we try to ensure at all times that only relevant information is provided to students, and we try to keep out all unnecessary information. That's exactly why our study material, be it the industry analysis, the financial analysis, or the pre-scene analysis videos, or revision cards pertinent to E2, P2, and F2, in all these areas, we try to keep the information less as much as possible, thereby focusing only on the most relevant areas and leaving out the unnecessary information, so that your life becomes easier and you will not be faced with information overload. Okay, so these are the type of deflections which you are supposed to avoid. And then we are moving on to the third area of tonight's session, which is about bouncing back from failure. If you failed your MCS exam in May, I'm highlighting what you need to do to pass it in August. So you need to figure out whether you gave your best or not. So you need to do your own personal reflection. You have to be honest to yourself. You have to figure out what went wrong last time, and try to avoid the same mistakes or committing the same mistakes this time. Okay, so in your personal reflection, try to figure out where you went wrong in the exam. You need to diagnose the reasons first and address them this time. So you can't, as I told you earlier, you can't repeat the same mistakes, because if you keep doing it, you keep failing. If there were certain mistakes, you need to find real solutions, or else you'd end up failing the examination. Okay, so refer to the mini mock and suggested answers as well as the examiner's report. So we have highlighted the most important areas from the examiner's reports in today's webinar. At the inception of today's webinar, I highlighted the examiner's comments. So please go through these things to figure out what you need to do in order to pass the examination. And if you did not get feedback on your mocks or your answer scripts, then it's prudent for you to do it this time, because if you're not too confident with carrying out self-studies, or if you do not have the capability of understanding what's wrong with your answers, then it's prudent for you to go for personalized tutor feedback. All right. If you are a student who can, based on the suggested answers, if you can develop answer plans, and if you have the capability of comparing the answer plans which were developed based on the suggested answers with your own answers, and if you have the capability of figuring out what needs to improve in your answers, then you need not go for tutor feedback. However, if you lack the capability to understand what is lacking in your answer and the suggested answer, or if you do not have the capability to compare between your answer and the suggested answer and figure out what's wrong with your own answer, then it's better for you to go for personalized tutor feedback. All right, so that's so you need to figure out what went wrong in the exam, and based on what went wrong, you need to develop an action plan, and you need to remind yourself that you need to work harder and smarter than the previous attempt. All right, so let me also highlight the type of reasons for failure. So I've highlighted the most common reasons faced by CIMA students when it comes to facing the examination and failing the MCS exam. Okay, so first things first, I've seen hordes of students. They do not allocate enough study time. They start preparing just 1 week or 2 weeks before the exam. So because of that, they don't have enough time on their hands to attempt mock exams. So since they do not have enough time, they end up attempting just 2 or 3 mock exams. Just because you do 2 or 3 mock exams, you can't pass the MCS exam, because as the examiner has highlighted, you need to have a sound knowledge about all technical areas. So if you are to cover the entire MCS syllabus, you need to attempt 5 mock exams. If you just do 2 or 3 mock exams, you can't cover all syllabus content. Then your chances of passing the MCS exam is low. Okay, so it's better to, rather than practicing 1 or 2 mock exams or 2 or 3 mock exams, it's better to attempt 5 mock exams so that you cover the entire syllabus content. And another problem is not practicing mocks under simulated exam conditions. As I highlighted earlier, students might do one task, allocate 45 minutes and attempt one task, take a break, then on the next day attempt the second task and whatnot. That's not too prudent, because the examiner wants you to practice full mocks, okay, as I highlighted earlier. And when practicing these mocks, you are supposed to isolate yourself, allocate 3 hours of your time and attempt 4 mocks which carries 4 tasks at a stretch, allocating 3 hours. Okay, because that's the type of questions or the exam structure you would see at your real exam. At the real exam, you will be allocated 3 hours, and you are supposed to attempt 4 tasks on the trot. 4 tasks. So the same thing when it comes to practicing mocks, you need to practice 4 task mocks, allocating 3 hours of your time. Okay. And lack of technical knowledge is a real killer at the real exam. So if you do not know your E2, F2 and P2 related syllabus content, then you need to brush up your knowledge, or you need to learn these areas, or else you can't pass the MCS exam. I've seen so many students failing because of this reason, because of the lack of technical knowledge. This is highly applicable to students who are coming through the exemption route. You might think that since you have gotten your exemptions, you have enough knowledge or expertise about syllabus content. You can't be too sure about it. So it's better to brush up your knowledge about E2, F2 and P2 before you attempt the real exam. Okay. And shortcomings in application of knowledge. So even if you have, as I highlighted on this webinar earlier, even if you have the appropriate level of technical knowledge, you won't gain any marks if you do not know how to apply your knowledge. Okay, so a good example is with regards to suggesting KPIs. So you are at the MCS exam, based on the balance scorecard, you will have to suggest KPIs based on different scenarios. But if you do not know, just because you know the balance scorecard, it does not mean that you'd end up providing better KPIs or suggesting better KPIs. In order to do this, in order to develop good KPIs, you need to have a good understanding about how to apply the knowledge which you have gained from E2, F2, and P2 related areas. Okay, so in order to understand how to apply your knowledge, what you can do is you can simply go through the suggested answers of the 5 mock exams which we have developed. Then you'd know how to apply knowledge appropriately. And another problem could be inappropriate answering technique. As I told you earlier, students, I've seen so much of students who would end up reading the question, and right away they start typing their answers. Most students do not stick to any answer planning technique. That is a killer again. If you do not stick to an answer planning technique, the quality of your answers will be low, and on top of that, you would run out of time. Both these, providing low quality answers and running out of time, is gonna lead to a failure at the real exam. So you need to focus on your answering technique. Absolutely nothing to worry. We have highlighted what you need to do in webinar number 2, and you are supposed to simply replicate the technique when attempting your mock exams. Then you will find it extremely easy to replicate the same methodology at your real exam. So mismanagement of time is a problem, and as I highlighted earlier, if you stick to our answering technique, then you would get rid of this problem as well. And lack of evaluation is another problem. Most students, as I told you earlier, they lack the capability to compare between the answer which the student provides and the suggested answer. So if you do not have the capability to check your answer with the suggested answer, compare your answer with the suggested answer, and check whether your answers need to improve or not, it's better to go for personalized tutor feedback. And another problem is not adhering to a study plan. That's exactly why students start preparations just 2 weeks or 1 week before the exam. That's not enough time. You can't rush your studies, especially when it comes to a case study examination. So you need to stick to a study plan in order to make your life easier. In our first webinar itself, we provided an 8-week study plan. And if you missed out on sticking to the study plan, we are providing another study plan in today's webinar as well. Okay, so I've highlighted the common reasons for failure, as well as I've highlighted what you need to do to overcome each of these issues. All right, so let me talk about the study plan before we move on to the Q&A session. So stick to the study plan. So we have developed a 5-week, or in other terms, 6-week study plan, but actually the 6th week is allocated towards the exam. Since the 6th week is the exam week, you are supposed to do a chunk of your work within the first 5 weeks. So I've highlighted what you need to do on a weekly basis, and as you can see, you have to do a lot of work during the first 3 weeks, but 2 weeks before the exam, your workload reduces significantly. So it's better to relax closer to the exam rather than trying to do everything under the sun, trying to then you would be too pressured. Okay, so let go of unnecessary pressure. in order to do that, try to stick to our study plan. So our study plan starts from the 11th of July, which is the coming Monday. So first things first, you are supposed to read the annotated pre-scene. So this is what our annotated pre-scene looks like. So on to your right, you can see the tutor annotations. So in these annotations, we have highlighted the most important points which you need to remember. So you need not remember everything which appears on the annotated pre-scene. Just remembering the annotations would do. And we have highlighted the syllabus areas which can be tested. For instance, we have highlighted that according to the information provided, IAS 21 can be tested. And on top of that, based on any hints provided by the examiner, we have highlighted what type of scenarios can appear in your real exam. So that's exactly why you need to read the annotated pre-scene. And you are supposed to, in the first week, which is the coming week, you are supposed to watch the 4 pre-scene analysis videos. Then you would have all the necessary knowledge about the information which appears in the pre-scene. And watch the recorded video of MCS webinar 2 answering technique. Why it's better to, if you had already attended this webinar, I invite you to watch it again, because it's better to remind yourself about answering technique before you start attempting mock exams. All right, so once you have watched this recorded version of webinar 2, you are supposed to attempt mock number 1 under simulated exam conditions. And as we have highlighted earlier, you are supposed to develop answer plans for each and every mock. So develop answer plans based on suggested answers of mock exam 1. Why am I asking you to develop answer plans for each and every mock? Because closer to the exam, rather than going through pages and pages of answers, you have a summary of the entire mock exam in your hand if you develop answer plans. So it's easier to go through the answer plan or the answer structure or the summary of answers, which makes your life easier closer to the exam. Then you are in a position to figure out the structure of the answer. Then you are in a position to figure out the question which was raised in each mock exam and the type of answer which is highlighted under the suggested answer. Then you'd know what type of answers you are supposed to provide, and then you'd know how to improve your answers as well. So you are supposed to do these things in week number 1, and in week number 2, refer to the theory recaps pertaining to P2. I said that you need to brush up on your technical knowledge, so we are providing theory recaps. So please refer to that. And then attempt mock number 2 under simulated exam conditions, and develop answer plans for mock number 2. And from mock number 2 up until mock number 4, mocks 2, 3 and 4, we are providing personalized tutor feedback at TCS. So refer to personalized tutor feedback for mock number 2. All right, then you can replicate the same thing. A similar approach can be adhered to in week number 3, where you are supposed to refer to F2 theory recap slides, attempt mock number 3, develop answer plans for mock number 3, and refer to personalized tutor feedback for mock number 3. And in the 4th week, refer to the E2 theory recap slides, then focus on attempting mock number 4, developing answer plans based on mock number 4, and seeking feedback for mock number 4. And exam entry closes on the 2nd of August. So before this date, you have to book your exam for the August session. And on the 5th week, you are supposed to just attempt mock number 5 and develop answer plans based on mock number 5. And in the 6th week, you are supposed to simply refer to all the material and the answer plans. You are not supposed to attempt any mock exams. So a week before the exam, you are relaxing. So usually what happens is, a week before the exam, students tend to panic and try to do everything under the sun. Okay, they are stressed a lot. So we are trying to alleviate this level of unnecessary stress. So you are not supposed to do anything rather than going through the material which we have provided. So simply refer to the additional material, which are the financial analysis slides, industry analysis slides, and top 10 issues. And refer to answer plans of all 5 mocks. So you have answer structures or answer summaries for each and every mock. So simply go through these answer plans, read the annotated pre-scene one last time, and stop all work a day prior to the exam, sleep, eat, and rest well. So if for instance, if your exam is happening on the 17th of August, you have to stop everything by the 15th of August. On the 16th of August, you are supposed to relax. You are not supposed to do anything. So take a day off before the exam, which will help you relax significantly. You might think that I'm stupid to ask you to, not prepare yourselves a day before the exam. But the CIMA examiner is trying to replicate a real life work environment. So in order to excel in a real life work environment, you need to be relaxed, you need to be open-minded. So in order to achieve that, a day prior to the exam, stop everything you do and try to relax. Okay. And the MCS exam window is from the 17th to the 19th of August. Okay. So if you stick to our study plan, your life becomes easier. You will be covering all the necessary areas. And on top of that, closer to the exam, you would be relaxing. Okay. And when attempting mock exams, you can, do something like this now. Since Mondays are busy, you can leave out Monday. Let's assume you attempt mock number 2 on a Tuesday. So attempt mock number 2 on Tuesday, develop the answer plan for mock number 2 on Wednesday. And by Thursday, you would get personalized tutor feedback, because at TCS, we provide tutor feedback within 48 hours. So in 2 days time, you would know what type of marks you have gotten, and you would know what type of feedback you have gotten. And based on that, if you feel that you have gotten really low marks, then it's better if you reattempt the mock, or it's better if you refocus on your answer planning technique. So you have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to do that. So Tuesday you attempt the mock. On Wednesday, you are supposed to develop the answer plans. By Thursday, you get your feedback. Based on the feedback, you realize what you need to improve on. So if your typing speed is not up to standard, you have 3 days remaining within the week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, to work on it. If your answers, the content or the quality of your answers are not up to standard, then you can focus on your answer planning technique. If you are running out of time, then you are supposed to reattempt the mocks again. So you can reattempt the same mock on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So you are not supposed to allocate too much of time. Simply, stick to our study plan. Then you would find it extremely easy to prepare for the upcoming MCS exam. If you are attempting the exam at home, refer to the CIMA exam information page. Go to this link and read the content thoroughly before the exam. Read all the information and try out the CIMA exam platform by following the guidelines mentioned, because it's better to prepare yourself earlier than be sorry at the real exam. So please get accustomed to the CIMA exam platform if you're attempting the exam at home. Right, so let me talk about what we offer. We offer 2 packages, namely the Essential Pack and the Value Pack. So under the Essential Pack, you would have access to 4 full pre-scene analysis videos. So all these videos are based on our annotated pre-scene. These videos consists of video number 1 is about an introduction to the pre-scene. Videos number 2 and 3 are about company operations as well as industry analysis, and video number 4 is based on the financial statements of piping as well as its closest competitor. And you would get your hands on the annotated pre-scene, the industry analysis slides, financial analysis slides, top 10 likely issue slides, as well as the MCS familiarization kit. The most important service which you get under the essential pack are the 5 exam standard mock exams and suggested answers, which covers all relevant syllabus areas. And you'd have access to the WhatsApp discussion forum as well, where we discuss, you can raise concerns about any syllabus content or any issue pertaining to the pre-scene, and our tutors are always ready to help you guys out. And the essential pack comes with a pass guarantee. If by any chance you end up failing the exam after using our material, you would have access to the material in the subsequent session free of charge. And the investment is going to be £99. And looking at the second package which we are offering, which is considered as the value pack, you would have access to everything which I highlighted under the essential pack, but additionally, you would gain access to the online mock exam platform. So you can attempt all 5 mock exams under real or simulated exam conditions. Okay. So after attempting one task, automatically through, if you attempt each and every mock under our mock exam platform, after one task is done, automatically you would be, after 45 minutes, you would be redirected to the second task and whatnot. So you can get yourself accustomed to real life exam conditions if you invest on the value pack. And you can gain professional marking and feedback on 3 mock exams, namely mocks 2, 3, and 4, which is going to be helpful to you in numerous ways. This is the type of feedback which we provide. As you can see in these annotations, these are the type of feedback our tutors provide. So in-depth feedback has been provided. And at the very end, on this document, you can't see that, but at the very end, we give mark breakdowns as well, so that you are in a position to figure out what has actually gone wrong and which areas you need to improve on when providing answers at the real exam. And we provide theory recaps for E2, P2, and F2 as well. So if you feel that you need to brush up your knowledge or you need to learn these syllabus content, then it's prudent for you to invest on the value pack. So you might be wondering whether to go for the essential pack or the value pack. If you are a student who aced your OTQ exams, and if you are extremely comfortable with conducting self-studies, then go for the essential pack. However, if you are a student who is returning to CIMA studies after a prolonged study break, if you struggled when doing your OTQ examinations, if you are coming through the exemption route, and if you failed your MCS exam last May, we urge you to go for the value pack, because you need all the support, all the type of mentoring and personalized feedback in order to ensure that you do not repeat the same mistakes which you did last time. Okay. So if you fall under any of these categories, then go for the value pack, and the investment is £199. All right. So I'm opening up the floor for questions. So I promised that I will address Siku's concern. So Siku has asked, can we use suggested answers from the mocks in the exam if we come across same scenarios, i.e. Such as introducing a new product? I won't ask you to replicate the suggested answers, Siku. You can always take the same structure, because if there is a tendency for you to get a replica of the questions which we have discussed. Okay, I'm not saying that it's going to be 100% similar, but there could be some type of similarity. So if there is a similarity, then you can use the same answer structure or the answer plan. However, don't try to replicate answers. Don't try to memorize the answers which appear in the suggested answers. Instead, suggested answers should be used as a means of understanding the requirement, and based on the requirement, what type of an answer was provided. So it's a means of understanding the logic of the answer. So rather than memorizing, you can't, at CIMA, You cannot memorize anything and pass the exam. You can't memorize the suggested answers and pass. Instead, it's better to go to the answer structure and suggested answers, and when developing your answer structures or your answer plans, come up with practical answers. Try to figure out the requirement, and based on that requirement, come up with appropriate types of answers. Okay, I hope I addressed your concern, Siku. I hope I addressed your concern. All right, so since there aren't any questions, let me talk about how you can contact us. You can, contact us via the website, or simply drop us an email or WhatsApp us on this number. And you can follow us on our social media handles, especially on Facebook. We have a separate MCS group where all the study material, free content and stuff are shared. And on top of that, we are the recorded versions of these webinars are uploaded on our YouTube channel. So I ask you to check them out and check out our blog posts as well, because the technical nitty-gritties pertaining to the MCS exam, as well as hints in order to pass the MCS exam, all these things appear under the blog posts. So please go check them out on our website. So let me, before I finish today's session, let me show you the website as well. So simply go to the MCS page. It's still loading. Give me a second, please. Yeah, so we are on the MCS page. So go to the MCS page and click. It says click here to access free content. So by clicking on this button, you'd gain access to free content, and the free content consists of one video out of the 4 pre-scene analysis videos. Then you'd have access to the recorded versions of these 3 webinars, and on top of that, you'd have access to a mini mock and a suggested answer. Okay, so you can develop or create your own account and access our free content. And you can access our all the information about the essential pack as well as the value pack. So before investing on any of our products, I invite you to go through the FAQ section, because under the FAQ section, we have provided samples. As you can see, we have provided samples for all the type of content which are available under each product category. Okay, so before purchasing, please check out the quality of the content which we are providing. Go through the samples before making the purchase decision. All right, so having said that, it brings us to the end of our 3rd and final webinar for the upcoming exams happening in August. So thank you very much for joining us. If you are yet to check out our previous webinars, please check out the recorded versions, because I hope I'm pretty sure that checking out the recorded versions of these 3 webinars are extremely beneficial for you. And I hope that you'd stick to the study plan which we have provided, get everything right in the coming 5 to 6 weeks. Then MCS is going to be a walk in the park. So having said that, let me thank you once more for joining in, and I wish you all the very best for the upcoming MCS exam, which is happening in August. Thank you very much. Good night.